one totaled it
Correct.
up. No one totaled it up, Ken.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. And then at that point, you realize, oh, I'm on to something here.
Right.
Yeah. So as you went through, and I watched the documentary, and I highly recommend it. Did you come in with any bias, or you come in to look at like a scientist, or what were you just wanted to ask the question?
I was ready for whatever the factual answers were. In fact, the guys that actually did the videography and they're young guys, and they were concerned. Well, are you gonna show it whether it's this way or that way? And I said, absolutely. What we find out is what'll be in there. I came with a bias because I've been following energy for quite a long while in the region, although more recently at some distance. And it just seemed like it wasn't practical to say, well, we're going to depend on the sun and the wind for all of our energy when the sun is only up part of the time and it is only windy part of the time.
Yes. Did you look to our neighbors, Germany and Great Britain, because they sort of jumped in first?
Not too much at that time. Now, as getting into it, well, then, yes, I did. And of course, Germany is in terrible shape with deindustrialization going on. And the UK, unfortunately, may be even in worse shape.
Yes. Let's talk about the cost to the taxpayer here. You include both Oregon and Washington in this. I found it very interesting when you talked about, as you started to dig in and you asked the folks in Olympia, how much have you budgeted for decommissioning the windmills, decommissioning the solar? Because they have to put money aside for that, because I think, is it every 20 years they decommission, or is it every 12 years? Can't remember what it was.
Well, they say that that the solar and wind are approximately 20 years, but that depends on a lot of things going right.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you asked, okay, what have you budgeted for the decommissioning, to take down the solar or to take down the wind turbines, which are, non-recyclable, to break up all the concrete, to do all that? Did they have money set aside for it?
I didn't even ask that question. The costs of that are not even in the documentary. So in the documentary, you spend $1 trillion and you get all this stuff, but there really is no cost that we accrued for the decommissioning, as you've said. And of course, those will be huge costs as well.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Did you say $1 trillion?
$1 trillion.
Is that split between Oregon and Washington? That just the good folks in Washington get to pay $1 trillion?
No, that's both Oregon and Washington, and it is related to the amount of energy that is used in both of those states. And I chose those two states because, well, one, I've lived in Oregon and Washington all my life.
Yeah.
And secondly, these two states have passed very similar laws, although Oregon likes to say that they are even more aggressive than Washington.
So we spend $1 trillion and we get intermittent energy. And our cost of energy, as through the documentary, you see if they put these things in place, you see how the average homeowner will continue to pay a greater and greater and greater percentage in order to have the energy produced. Plus, they're paying not only for the energy they're producing, they're paying for the construction of all of this as well.
Correct.
And then at some point, $1 trillion comes out of our pockets, and we get what type of energy?
Well, you get energy that, under this assumption, you've built enough storage, battery storage, in conjunction with the only reason why it's even as low as $1 trillion is because we've been blessed with a tremendous hydropower resource that no other state in the union has. And as someone, one of the environmental people says in the documentary, if we can't do it here, we can't do it in any state. And that's true. And so this was attempting to say, what would you have to spend if you did firm up the unreliable resources of wind and solar with battery and then the hydropower that's there.
At some point, Ken Peterson, while you're working on this documentary, did you just scratch your head like, I can't believe nobody asked what's it going to cost? Why?
Yes.
How does that happen?
That's why, I wrote to the Washington Department of Commerce and said, well, surely there must be some papers that have been written since the laws went into effect. And the fellow very nicely and promptly wrote back and said, no, he wasn't aware of it.
I know, because in the documentary, Ken, you show the email from the guy, and he's like,
yeah,
hey, that's a good question. I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you. It's like,
right.
Wait a minute. But we were told, it's an existential threat. We have to build this. It's an existential, meaning the end of our existence if we don't. So we have to hurry up and do this. And when do they expect? What's the delivery date after we spend the $1 trillion?
Of when that, well, the energy will be slowly coming in from now until 2040 and 2045.
Right.
And the astonishing thing, I guess, even more astonishing than the $1 trillion to me, was what do we get for the $1 trillion? Because, of course, as you just said, the rationale is we've got to save the world here, and we're going to combat and win, over the climate change. And if you use the EPA model about what does the reduction of CO2 that this would entail, it turns out that it's 0.003 of 1 degree centigrade by 2100.
Okay.
You can't even measure 0.003 of a degree. And so there will be imperceptible and unmeasurable assumed difference, and we've spent $1 trillion for it.
Ken, I hate you. I have to tell you, Ken Peterson, my stomach turns. I have looked at these numbers, and after I watched your documentary, it boiled my blood. So if you could take some of the heat produced from my boiled blood and ship that somewhere and heat somebody's house. The one part of it is, it's called the crippling cost of electrification and the net zero energy policy in the Pacific Northwest. Long name. But you break down, you said, okay, let's say that you have solar. All right. And then you have batteries to store it. Now you have to have transmission lines. And then you go into the cost of the transmission lines. So, yeah, the sun gave it to you. Yeah, you stored it. Now you got to take it and you got to run it on an electric line all the way somewhere, someplace in order to get it to somewhere. And you break that cost down. And at that point, my head is spinning. I'm like, well, now we could generate energy from my blood boiling and my head spinning, because that's what the documentary leaves you with. Like, this is absurd. And when you get 0.0003 by 2100 for $1 trillion, how do we stop this thing, Ken? I mean, that's not your job. Your job is just to look into it and get it. But is there any pushback? Do people watch this documentary and then say, well, this is a total and absolute waste of time and money?
Well, I've received that sort of feedback from some people. I have not received any feedback from true believers that are saying that I got something wrong, or that the study that this is based on, is inaccurate or anything. I've looked at other studies and studies that have been done by environmental organizations or anti-CO2 organizations, And, you can always quibble with, is it 1,500 per kilowatt or is it 1,440 or, so there's little niggling things that somebody can say. But in general, this is just the way that it is. I think if anything, transmission costs, for example, are probably lowballed with the number that we used. And I pointed to a couple of transmission lines back east. They're just being completed as an example of that.
Does somebody look at your bio and say, well, first of all, you're not a doctor, so you can't be an expert?
No, I was trained as a lawyer.
Oh, all right. Even worse. And then do they go through this and they say, yeah, but the thing about Peterson is he's bought and sold for. They own him. He's big, oil or gas. Or can they look at your bio and say, yeah, you're so biased, we can't trust you in any of these things?
I am a businessman, so in that case, I plead guilty. But I haven't been involved with oil and gas. I've been involved with telecommunications. I have been involved with the aluminum industry in the Northwest, which was, of course, it's no longer here, but it was a large power user. And that was where I sort of became first interested in the power situation. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's more a matter of policy and whether this is a good policy. And, nowadays, everybody and their brother is talking about affordability. Oh boy, we're going to help. We're going to be affordable. We're going to, lower prices. But then somehow or other, the legislature passes policies that are antithetical to affordability.
Mm. Have you heard from anybody, Ken? People, I know I don't know when the documentary came out, but has anybody?
It was about a year ago.
So anyone in Olympia responded to it? Department of Ecology or Energy or Revenue? No.
No, I got one inquiry or one contact from an Oregon legislator who was a little upset that I had listed her as not willing to come on to the documentary because she said, well, my staff didn't pass it along to me. I could have come on.
All right. Well, she's the only one that should be embarrassed then. All right. Well, I'll tell you something. I love the way it is so simple, concise, just simply this is the cost, this is how much energy, this is how much CO2, and we'll add this to the bill. And just keeps going on and on and on. Unfortunately, we are the ones that will have to pay. And as you point out, what are we getting for it? So I don't know what comes next, but if you really want your blood to boil, the crippling cost of electrification and net zero energy policy in the Pacific Northwest. Ken Peterson, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. And can I put in a plug? Anyone can watch it by going to reasonable.energy.